they're
All right, ready, council? All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock, and we have convened from executive session. No action will be taken. At 6 o'clock, we will also open the regular city council meeting on the last day of February 28th, 2023. Our invocation will be led by Councilmember Brenda Hughes.
This one, please. Heavenly Father, bless us as we gather here tonight. We pray this meeting is productive and ask that you direct us to conduct the city's business with a kind, considerate, and compassionate spirit. Give us the desire to find ways to work towards the enrichment of our city and the benefit of our citizens. Challenge us to be fair in our decisions. We continue to pray for protection for our frontline workers and our first responders. Keep them safe as they put their lives in harm's way every day to protect all of us. We ask this in Christ's holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brenda. Announcements. Stuart.
Got a few announcements tonight. We've got some, I'll be quick because we've got some really neat recognizing coming up, and got the wrong word there. I am in the middle of my 13-day annual memory of the Battle of the Alamo, which my wife has had to put up with for 30 some odd years. So I appreciate everybody being here tonight. All right, it is time to clean up around the house. The first of the city's twice-a-year bulk waste pickups begins next week. So it's time to get rid of those Easy Boy recliners. Mine has been taken over by two cats, so I don't know if they're going to let me get rid of them. But if there's something that you want to get rid of, just stick it out by by where they pick up your trash ordinarily. Put it out by the street, and the city will come by and pick it up. If your collection time is Monday, your collection week actually begins next week, March 6th, and runs through the 10th. If your collection time is Tuesday, your collection week is March 13th through 17th. And if your collection date is Wednesday or Thursday, you have to wait almost till the end of the month. That'll be March 20th to 24th. But take advantage of that. It's a great way to get rid of stuff in the house. All right. Spring break begins the week after next. Carvel Shriner Park is ready on March 14th, which is actually 2 weeks from tonight. KSP will be hosting a campfire night, which means we need to get done early here because they have s'mores. So we all want to go out there and get some of those. The next night, March 15th, will be family game night. There'll also be a movie out there that week. We'll have more about that at our next meeting as we get closer to it. And then, just in time for spring break as well, the Carver Park Spray Ground opens tomorrow. Always a lot of fun out there. It's open every day but Tuesday from 10 a.m. to dark, starting tomorrow, and it will be open through October. So that's it for tonight, unless you all have announcements.
Okay, fun things. Anybody have anything they would like to mention?
Just one, for citizens who are interested in applying, we are still accepting applications for our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So they're kind of tasked with managing the equipment and land and improvements that our Parks and Rec Department manages, and assisting with that and advising council on kind of recreational activities and other programs that we can use for our city. So anybody who's interested in applying for that, you can contact, I believe, the city secretary's office, and online you can fill out the application there too. So.
And I would like to mention a Texas Monthly article. It's actually an online article. It's entitled "How Florence Butt, Not Her Son, Launched the HEB Empire." And a very, very great article. Lots of information in there that I didn't know, and a lot of it is attributed to our own Councilman Herring. And so several pages. I think the article was done by a reporter out of San Antonio, Joe?
Austin.
Austin, okay. Anything you would like to add to this?
Like the women on this city council, Florence Budd had a lot of grit. She didn't back down, so.
That she did, that she did. So if you're interested and you want to see some Kerrville history, Google Texas Monthly, and I don't know if it's going to be in a regular magazine,
I don't
but
either.
it definitely is online. So excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
And thank you, Joe, for what you do for us, not just for that, but for all of your history for us. All right, as Stuart said, we have several recognitions tonight, and the first is our Kerrville Kindness Award going to fourth grader Cooper Smithson. So if he and his family would join me up here. We have a picture of him. Do you have anyone else, Cooper, you'd like to bring up with you? Your family? Bring your family up.
Come on up, come on up.
Good to meet you. Nice to meet you. And this is? Abigail. And? Caroline and? And Ray. Good to have all of you here. These are our brothers and sisters, right? All right, very good. Well, we are pleased to have you tonight, and we are pleased to recognize you with this Kerrville Kindness Award. Cooper Smithson, a fourth grader student at Starkey Elementary School, recently gifted Starkey sausage supper tickets to more than 70 families at Mustard Seed Food Pantry. Cooper came up with the idea after visiting with Beth Palmer at Light on the Hill about local food relief opportunities. Cooper then went door to door selling sausage supper tickets and inviting people to purchase an extra ticket or purchase tickets and donate them back for his food donation goal. And I'm proud to say my husband bought from you and we donated back. So Cooper is following in the steps of his older sisters, Caroline and Abigail, and that's these two gals here, who would donate sausage supper tickets to area first responders during their time at Starkey. Cooper's generosity brought lots of smiles of joy and gratitude. The Kerrville Kindness Program offers a sincere thank you to Cooper for his commitment to serving others. Do you have a few words you would like to share with us? It was a wonderful idea, and I know there were a lot of people who enjoyed a good dinner that night. So, turn around, shake a hand of our council member, if you will, and then we'll get a picture.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, good job, good job. And good job for you too.
Is this a younger brother who may fall in your footsteps?
Starting next year, he's able to
All right, very good. All right, well, we'll give this to you, and I think we need to look this direction for some pictures.
Yeah, get close.
So come cozy up.
Oh, just the two first?
There we go. All right, can I get all of y'all up there?
And we can probably hide mine.
Okay.
Okay, let's get, yeah, there we go. There we go.
Strategic.
Yeah, there's a.
Yeah. No people.
Right.
All right,
One more. Great.
all right.
Nicely done.
And thank you again. Great idea. All right, next we have a proclamation for the Daughters of the Republic of Texas.
You're right. They're sitting up.
to meet you, yes. And you are?
Betsy Drapella.
Betsy? Nancy? And?
Jan Engler.
Jan. All right. Thank you all for being here with us. Do you want to change places there? All right, very good. Okay, the City of Kerrville Proclamation. Whereas the Daughters of the Republic of Texas was organized in 1891 to perpetuate forever the memory of the Texas pioneer families and the soldiers of the Republic of Texas, and whereas the Joshua D. Brown chapter, chartered in January 1996 in Kerrville, is one of over 100 chapters in the state of Texas, and whereas March 2nd, 1836, the Texas Declaration of Independence was signed at Washington on the Brazos, and whereas on March 6th, 1836, the Alamo fell and all Texian, am I saying that correct? And it's spelled Texian. I had to look it up to find out exactly what it meant. All Texian defenders died for the cause of Texas independence, and whereas on March 27, 1836, about 400 Texians were slaughtered at Goliad. Now, therefore, I, Judy Eichner, Mayor of the City of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as Texas History Month in the City of Kerrville, and urge all citizens to join me this month in honoring our Texas heroes and proudly displaying the Texas flag. And it is signed and sealed.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, ladies. Share a few words.
Yes. One of the things that we're really focusing on this year is trying to do some education, some outreach to young Texans, because we're finding that the amount of Texas history that's being taught in our schools is kind of dwindling away. So we're going to libraries, and Jan Engler and her volunteers were reading books and donating Texas books. And we would like all of you, if you belong to you're on the school board or you're a teacher, help us keep Texas history in our schools.
Thank you. You're welcome. Necessary. Very necessary. All right, well, we'll get some pictures and we'll let you take one. And we'll let you, would you like to hold
Sure.
this? All right. Ladies, do you want
come on
to
over
scoot
here.
over a little
Scoot over
bit?
so we
I always need to get in the back.
Okay, are y'all ready?
All right, thank you. And then we'll get some more. I think we've
some
got,
more?
yeah, some more over here.
Yeah, you get to be in now.
Got it?
Okay, turn around and shake our council members'
Thank you so
Hi.
Hi, I'm Gina McDade. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you for being here.
Hi. Good to see you.
All right, thank you, ladies, and we will all work to keep Texas history alive.
Thank you so much. It's good to shake your hand. Thank you.
All right, we have some commendation awards to give out. So I need Karen Burkett, Leanne Fitzpatrick, Leanne here, I did not see her, Randy Bino, and Sabina Kunzel. I don't know. Well, no, we've got three of you. All right, looks like Leanne is not with us tonight. Okay, all right. So Karen is part of the Senior Citizens Advisory Board, or has been, and Leanne and Brandy and Sabina have been part of the Recovery Community Coalition. So we thank you all for your service. We appreciate it. And all of these say the same thing, so I'm going to kind of combine them together, and we'll do it that way if that's okay. So, City of Kerrville, resolution of commendation. Whereas Karen Burkett has served as a member of the Senior Services Advisory Community, the date of service beginning January 8th, 2019. Whereas Leanne Fitzpatrick has served as a member of the Recovery Community Coalition, the date of service beginning March 13th, 2018. And whereas Randy Bino has served as a member of the Recovery Community Coalition, the date of service beginning January 22, 2019. And Sabina Kunzel has served as a member of the Recovery Community Coalition, the date of service beginning January 8, 2019. And whereas all of these ladies has served faithfully and dutifully on the said board, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Kerrville, Kerr County, Texas, that these ladies be recognized for outstanding service as a member of their individual committees, and that on behalf of the citizens of Kerrville, as well as for ourselves individually, we wish to express our sincere appreciation for contributions to the city and the community. This is passed and approved this 28th day of February, and it's signed by all the council members. So, thank you, all of you. Would you like to share something with our group?
Well, it occurs to me, you all actually helped in a way with our survey stage way back in the beginning of our research. We utilized the recovery community to answer some of our surveys. For Kerr Connect,
That's another subject. A wonderful subject, yes it is. So, Randy?
It has
anything?
been my pleasure to serve for the last 4 years. I don't know that either of us wanted to leave, really. It's just in my heart to help the recovery community and the city of Kerrville. Thank you.
Get to sit out a year.
Yes.
And I would like to express my sincere gratitude as well. It's really, Kerrville is cutting edge, I think, when it comes to the recovery community for embracing the recovery community. So I'm hoping in a different capacity to be able to express that in other places too, because it really is. It's an amazing thing that the city started years ago when you created the Recovery Community Coalition. Not every community has one; it's not required. For that recognition that this is a good thing for the community. And like I said, it's cutting edge. It's up and coming. We hear about it all the time. But for little Kerrville to be really huge in that discussion, I think is amazing.
That's great. That's great. All right, Karen, we'll give you yours. Randy?
Thank you.
And Sabina. All right, and I think we need some pictures. Always pictures.
We go 1, 2, 3.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for serving. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Hi. Good.
Thank you
Thank
again
you.
for what you do.
It's falling out of this thing.
All right, we have some more presentations, and I believe Chief McCall is going to do these for us. Chief?
Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to get to present and recognize our 2022 Kerrville Police Department Employees of the Year. We have 3 categories that we nominate for each year. one being our Officer of the Year, one being our Civilian Employee of the Year, one being our Supervisor of the Year. Excuse me. These nominations come from their peers within the department. And I can tell you each one of these award recipients this year received multiple nominations from throughout the department, indicating their impact on everyone in the department as well as in our community and the citizens we serve. I tell you, I'll invite each of these folks up here to join me. Jeanette Dennis, if you'll come up and join us. She was our Civilian Employee of the Year, and then I'll tell you a little bit about each. Officer Dan Riddell, if you'll come up and join us, and Sergeant James.
Come on up
Kett.
here where everybody can see. Put you on display.
Jeanette is our Civilian Employee of the Year. She received 13 nominations from throughout the department, and her nominations routinely read very similarly. That she always has a smile on her face. Shocking. She's always professional, courteous. She's always looking for ways to help the department, whether it's her task, assigned task or not. If she sees an opportunity of something that needs to be done, she steps forward and she takes care of that. She has great initiative. She's very essential to our organization and very critical to our operations. She also was described by very many as having a positive impact on the morale of the agency as well as the safety of the department. Jeanette has served with us a little over a year and has made a tremendous impact in getting us organized and helping us identify our needs. She is our inventory analyst, so she takes care of all of our equipment, vehicles, building, you name it, she probably touches it in our department. If it's outside of answering a 911 call, she probably has some hand in either procuring the equipment, issuing the equipment, or tracking it. And we appreciate her for the work she's done, and we were very happy to name her our Civilian Employee of the Year for 2022. Officer Dan Verdell was our Officer of the Year for 2022. Again, multiple nominations from throughout the agency, from his peers, and it's fitting that the descriptions of the Officer of the Year is described by many as a proactive officer with an excellent work ethic. He operates with honor, and he is professional when dealing with the public. He's also described as an officer who's a leader in our agency and is a mentor to many that he works alongside, not only professionally, but as a work-life balance with your family and work and how that blends together, as well as physical fitness. He serves in many important roles within our organization, including being a member of our Special Operations Unit, a field training officer. He can be counted on to do his best for those that he serves and works alongside. Being a field training officer has become a full-time gig over the last year. We are in a training posture every day, and he has a trainee with him almost every day, and is doing a great job in helping us shape the future of our organization through our new officers. Dan's proactive enforcement activities, they routinely lead to arrest, very quality arrests. One such incident led to the arrest of 2 individuals who had been involved in a multi-state burglary spree, along with a sizable drug seizure, recovery of stolen firearm, and the seizure of $20,000 in cash from these individuals. It was a fantastic case that he put together and is prosecuting. And we see that type of work out of Dan routinely, and we're very proud to have been able to announce him this year as our Officer of the Year. Supervisor of the Year, Sergeant James McKetta. He's our Criminal Investigations Sergeant. His nominations described him with many of the terms you would look for in an excellent supervisor. He's described as a mentor, a leader, and a resource to not only those who are assigned to him, but also many throughout the department seek his guidance and input on a daily basis. As a supervisor, he approaches his duties with compassion and integrity. not only well-respected by his peers and coworkers, but also outside of our agency with other organizations and other law enforcement agencies that we interact with routinely. We routinely get compliments on his service and the work he does. He takes on additional duties and responsibilities, not only inside the organization, but exterior to the organization. He's on the board of directors for the Hill Country Crisis Council. He's a range officer within our department, and he is an alert instructor for active threat, active shooter training for our agency. So we were very proud to be able to name Sergeant Maketa our Supervisor of the Year. So as I mentioned, we did our award ceremony in December at our Christmas celebration, and all these individuals received their awards at that time. But we're very happy to be able to present them to you in the public tonight in this setting. Thank you.
And then we need to get families in here. Congratulations. 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 And I think you need more pictures? And do we need family over here too after these? Okay.
Okay.
Family?
Okay, families, come join them. And I think a round of applause for families.
We're doing you two, and then let's do you two, and then we'll do them. Thank you. All right.
Dan, why don't you and your shift come over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, come over here.
You guys see what's over there.
All right, bring them over, absolutely.
That is your family right there.
Thank you all for being here.
Yeah.
Let's get him in the middle.
Yeah.
You're fine.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to all of you. We love and appreciate you. Thank you, Chief. All right, we are ready for number 3, our Visitors and Citizens Forum.
Yes, ma'am, we have two. Tara Bushnell.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, how are
And I've been told to tell you that you don't have to lean down. It will pick you up if you're standing. So we'll see.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. I'm Tara Bushnell with Upper Guadalupe River Authority and excited to share with you tonight a new program that UGRA is launching. It's called the Water Resources Preservation Grant Program, and our board approved it to incentivize low-impact development design practices to mitigate the pollution from stormwater runoff into our waterways. And low-impact development, you also hear the term green stormwater infrastructure or nature-based infrastructure. They're a land planning and engineering approach that tends to aims to treat runoff as close to where it falls as possible, usually on site. And as cities grow over the years, we kind of outgrow the traditional stormwater conveyance design of getting that runoff off the site into the storm drain system as quickly as possible, and that can pick up pollutants from surfaces, from impervious surfaces, and also increase flooding in some instances. In an urban setting, that can definitely be the case. So pollution and flooding can both be reduced by keeping that rain close to where it falls on site as possible, and kind of using the runoff that's generated from the site's roof or parking lot or sidewalk and directing it to areas within that same location where it can soak in and slow down and not run off. And these are strategies like rain gardens or infiltration strips or bioretention areas, also things like permeable pavers or even rainwater harvesting. So this new Water Resources Preservation Grant Program will provide monetary rebates for design and construction of these strategies. Eligible projects could be new construction or also retrofit. Projects must follow a technical design guidance that we provide, and most likely will require the assistance of a professional engineer or design professional to apply for those. Projects are going to be scored against a rubric, and there's a minimum score that is necessary in order to be considered. So ideally, a project would include several different practices in combination, and for those properties that are located adjacent to a river or a stream, they could be ranked higher if they commit to preserve the natural functioning riparian area along that property. In addition to functioning to mitigate the runoff at these specific locations, having this additional design strategy in our community will serve as education and demonstration for what best practices we would like to see to mitigate stormwater. Applications are going to be accepted year-round. Any Kerr County project is eligible to apply except for single-family residential projects, and the minimum rebate amount is $20,000. You can learn more about this program at our website, ugra.org. I shared some flyers with y'all, and we also, Shelley put them out on the desk out front, so if anybody would like to pick them up, and I'm going to give a stack over to Development Services. I hope that they can share them with the development community and start to spread this resource. Certainly, we are always available for additional questions. So thank you again for the opportunity to share this program with you, and if you know of any eligible projects, please direct them to UGRA. Thank you.
Thank you.
George Baruti, 1616 Glen Road. Does it come through? All right, anyways. So I'm here to I spoke at Commissioner's Court yesterday, golly. All right, so just yesterday, asking them to consider something that actually impacts the entire community. So in the November election, we had a bond election to do some upgrades of different things, one of which was the ag barn. And that didn't pass the election, but it wasn't because people didn't want the project. They were pushing back, I'm guessing, against the funding source, which was taxpayer dollars. So I encouraged the commissioners to do was to pick up their presentation of the ag barn renovations or whatnot that they were going to do, and walk them across the street to EIC, because it's a qualified project, or it's a project that's qualified to be funded by EIC, and it doesn't have to be all big lump sum. If I recall, it was like $8 million, which is less than we put into the ball fields. So it's kind of in that line. It's obvious that any event that's at the ag barn is impacting Kerrville, the city proper, with sales tax and churn. If they're coming into town and staying in a hotel, all the hotels are in the city limits. So we're getting all that. All the restaurants are in the city limits for the most part. I mean, they'll go outside a little bit, but so it's a help to the city. So what I'm coming here to do is, I think the commissioners may take me up on the advice. It would be nice if the city could proactively reach out to them and encourage it. I guess we still have a go team. So if the project comes forward, maybe EIC could push it along. Like I say, it's a project that's going to get done. If it's not done through EIC, it's going to be done with taxpayer dollars, which are taxpayers in the city as well. And so it would be nice if you could offload some of that burden onto the sales tax, which the ag barn generates for us. So I just encourage you to look into that and open the thought process to maybe considering accepting it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The citizen speakers.
All right, thank you. We now have come to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on that agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to pull any of those 3? If not, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I move to accept the consent agenda items and approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Brenda. All in favor, raise your right hand, and it is unanimously approved. Thank you. Number 5, Shelley, if you will read us in, please.
Ordinance number 2023-09, an ordinance amending Chapter 60 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Kerrville, Texas, titled Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, by adding a new article titled Right-of-Way Management to create regulations including a permit requirement for construction, maintenance, and repair work within the city's right-of-way, providing for a penalty in the maximum amount of $2,000 for violations thereof, and providing other matters relating to the subject. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right. Yes, Drew?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First, one quick correction on the agenda. This is Chapter 90. It is correct in your ordinance and your backup, just the heading on the agenda there. This is going to look familiar because this is mostly the PowerPoint you saw at the workshop at your last meeting. Just a reminder, this is a Kerrville 2050 item from the Mobility Chapter 5.6 to develop and implement a new right-of-way ordinance and access management policy for driveways, curb cuts, median openings, turn lanes, etc. So the Code Review Committee did take on this implementation item and focused on the right-of-way management portion for the ordinance. These are the purpose statements from the ordinance itself. Again, the city does, through the state, the city is delegated as the fiduciary duty and trustee to manage the right-of-way within the corporate city limits. For the public use, for obviously streets and utilities being the primary use of the right-of-way. The council has determined that the substantial funds have been invested in to build, maintain, and repair city streets, and find it desirable to adopt regulations to manage the construction within the right-of-way. As we know, we have several partners and users of the right-of-way through either Public Utility Commission regulations or franchise agreements. The state does allow us to adopt our own local right-of-way regulations, and so that's what's before you today to help manage that. Basically, to have similar to a permit process for a building permit, this would be a permit process for any construction within the right-of-way. Kind of the highlights here, again, it establishes the permit and the criteria for that permit, reinforces the construction methods consistent with city specifications, lays out the utility location and placement within the right-of-way, as sections related to traffic control, lane closures and road closures for that construction, and pavement preservation mechanisms. Again, I won't bore you with the entire details of the Federal Highway Administration report, but they did identify that utility cuts are a primary source of early degradation of pavement throughout, nationwide. This study included several different examples of different management practices, some being a management ordinance, some being fee-based, some being more of a fine and utility-based structure. One key point is that their moratorium policies on newly paved roads average 5 to 7 year moratorium nationwide. And specific to the street cuts, as council is aware, we have put in substantial funds of city dollars and taxpayer dollars into maintenance and reconstruction of streets. Since 2016, we've budgeted over $11 million, plus the $8.5 million in bonds for reconstruction. As the Code Review Committee looked at this, some of their recommendations were to establish a moratorium period, to require any cuts during that moratorium period would be a larger street section to be repaved, not just the actual cut, but actually intersection to intersection, curb to curb. So if there was a required cut, it'd be required to pave the entire street back to new. And then, of course, reviewing fees and amend if necessary. We'll get back to that in a moment. Some of the city actions that we do and will continue to do is encourage the use of trenchless technology, so you don't have to cut the street every time. And when we have project planning, coordinate with utility companies and adjacent property owners for the placement or replacement of utilities in that street before we go through a paving project. And then when we are repaving, we'll make sure that we have adequate water and wastewater taps on our lines for existing platted lots, so that we're not going back cutting our own streets. Now here's the section out of the actual ordinance for the moratorium, section 115. As you can see, there's a 5-year moratorium for finalized construction of new pavement, finalized use of mill and overlay, and a 2-year moratorium for finalized use of slurry seal. Again, just protect that longevity of the street, to keep that lifespan as long as we can for those streets. A code review committee did want to ensure that there was some relief to that mechanism. If there was a situation where a cut was necessary and that larger pavement section was just astronomical, that there would be some relief, and developed this criteria for a waiver to come before City Council. That would be with coordination with Public Works and City Engineering Office. And we did add, I don't think I have it in here, we did add in the ordinance that would be brought or scheduled within City Council within 30 days. And so the next steps, of course, second reading would be March 2nd. And related to the fees for the right-of-way permits, we're actually going to delay the effective date of this ordinance to mid-April, so that the fee schedule that we have coming up with some budget adjustments, and we're not reviewing the fee schedule twice back-to-back. We're just going to push this out a little longer, so we have the fee schedule incorporated with that budget amendment. And so we'll be bringing that back to you at a later date. Just looking at some comparable cities on what those right-of-way permit fees are, ranging from $150 to $300. Again, just the administration process and inspections for those construction projects. With that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Okay, well, I think this is something we've needed for a long time, so badly needed. Council, any comments, questions?
Looks good.
Joe?
Have y'all reached out to the utility companies that will be affected?
Yes, earlier this month, sent it out to all of our contacts that we use from the development side, so the ones that are working with the projects.
Any feedback from them?
I've heard nothing.
You might hear soon.
I suspect so, but no, I haven't heard anything so far.
Thank you.
I've heard back from Adams, and we actually went to lunch with them. So, last Friday, we went to lunch with Adams, and it's working. I mean, it's perfectly what we wanted. You know, they're asking us, what does this mean? How does this affect us? And we went through it and talked to them about it, and they are looking at doing additional streets. And they're taking this into consideration now, so it's looking like it's gonna go in our direction, so.
Thank you.
There's no chance this would stop someone like from Atmos from doing what they need to do.
There is a provision for emergency repair that they can do in there, and they don't necessarily have to repair the whole or replace the whole street.
Okay.
And so that they do allow for that as well. Yes, ma'am.
But I would also think this is something that they deal with in other cities.
Not all of them, probably, but not all of them are doing the street maintenance that we're doing and trying to protect their streets the way that we are.
Right-of-way management ordinance is very common throughout the state in most municipalities, and so these utilities won't be foreign to them.
Good. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Two things. One on the effective date of the ordinance. Are we just changing section 6 of the ordinance just to go with the April date instead of the 10 days after?
Yes.
Okay, so for second reading, we'll see that change?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And then the second thing is, can you go through a couple of the changes or any of the changes that were made from the draft that we originally saw to this one?
Give me just 1 second. So the big one is, of course, the section of 116 for the waivers, and that's not shown on your screen, but you'll see in the backup, section E, the consideration of a waiver within 30 days from the complete application will be scheduled for City Council. The other, off the top of my head, the other changes, updated the specification reference to the technical, Kyle, technical construction standards and specifications.
Right.
Consistent with subdivision code. I think we had just a generic placeholder before.
Okay.
But other than that, it's,
And y'all are good with the 30-day? I know that was a request that came from me of finding out how we can get a period sets for, in a fair expectation on the applicant side. 30 days is kind of what we usually do, right?
it is, I think so. That's from complete application, work through any final details, and get it through the agenda process and scheduled. So it won't necessarily be scheduled within 30 days. Or the meeting won't be within 30 days, but we'll have it scheduled for a date certain within 30 days.
Right, the date will be set within that 30-day
Right.
period. Right. So, and then last thing, can you walk me through how, or just briefly explain, without going into too many details or hypothetical, but just if somebody were to bring you an application, there's a part where they have to meet with the director before that. Does the 30-day trigger when they submit that, and this just gives you an opportunity to try to work something out to see if we don't need to take it to council? Is that right?
Right, so they bring in their application, make sure we have everything we need for that application, both for the waiver portion and the right-of-way construction. If there is anything missing, that's kind of the pre-conference. Once it's deemed complete, we'll make sure we schedule within 30 days and identify any discussion points at that meeting. Moving forward, but hopefully resolved before we get to council.
Sure, hopefully, yeah. We always hope that.
Right.
And then that 30 days, I guess, is when it's complete, they'll be notified, like, you've submitted everything, we're all good. Even if y'all still need to have talks or discussions, they'll be notified. So at least they get an understanding of when that time starts, right?
Correct.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, you said we had no speakers?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone in the audience who did want to speak? Our first reading. All right, council, are we ready for a motion? Yes.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 2023-09.
Second?
Yes, I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, number 6.
Request for variance from distance requirement pursuant to section 30-17 City's Code of Ordinances for proposed boarding home facility at 316 Jefferson. We do have 5 citizen speakers signed up. However, this is a public hearing.
All right, Drew, thank you. Please.
Give a quick introduction, and then I'll let the applicant, Ms. Andrew, present. This is a distance variance for the boarding home operated at 316 Jefferson. This was previously operated as a boarding home. It closed recently for the property. It was listed for sale. The new owner is working with Ms. Andrew to reopen, but it does fall within the 1,000-foot distance between really 3 boarding homes. Obviously, one of them's part of the state hospital and is a large piece of property, but you can see on the map there. This is right along Jefferson Street across from HEB. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and council. My name is Brittany Andre. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I've been a resident of Kerrville for over 14 years. When I got sober in 2008, I moved to Kerrville. I lived in a group home out by the airport. Being that distance from town was tough without a vehicle. Location of a group home was important to keep in mind when I decided to open my own sober living in 2017. I approached the city council for a variance then and reasonable accommodation for the property at 316 Jefferson, and it was approved. We had 5 incredible years of women experiencing being able to restart their lives. Stories of redemption and newfound freedom and recovery. The owner, as he mentioned, decided to sell the property, and so we vacated just this past September, just 4 months ago. The new owners, Justin and Kathy Dawson, are incredible people who have graciously agreed to allow us to return to the property and are in support of the mission I started back in 2017. I couldn't have asked for better people to have connected with on this. So I'm reapplying for a variance and reasonable accommodation as the license I had before is about 30 days outside of the expiration. The property has been ideal location for women, a women's group home, and has sufficient square footage to comfortably accommodate them. It is directly located by HEB, which allows them to have access to grocery shopping, 12-step meetings, and finding employment. For over 5 years, we were good neighbors. These women become employees of our local businesses, students at our colleges, members of our churches, and often freely spend time doing community service or volunteer work. Some of the alumni have purchased homes, started businesses, and given their time with service to the community in various ways. There continues to be a need for beds for women. Although this property is within half a mile from other sober homes, they stay consistently full. Some of those women who have lived in the house before are here today. We have been granted reasonable accommodation as it has plenty of space. Most of the women who come here to begin a new life come with almost nothing. This home would be beneficial for them to rebuild their life while living in a safe environment with easy access to resources around the city. It would allow them a place to build a strong foundation and become productive members of society before they move on to a space of their own. I know this because I had the opportunity to experience these things come to fruition for several years. And so I ask council and the mayor to allow us to return to that space.
All right, council, do you have some questions for Brittany?
Just one. You operated in that building before?
Yes, sir, for 5 years.
And the change came because the property owner chose to sell the property?
Correct.
It's a lovely house.
Yes.
Lovely historic house.
How many women will you be able to accommodate?
We previously were licensed for 15.
Is that normal census, 15?
Normal, I would say it's difficult to have 15 women in one house, but we were granted reasonable accommodation for 15 because we have the square footage per the license.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Joe.
That was it.
Oh, okay. So are they 2 per bedroom?
There's 2 rooms with 3 beds and 2 rooms with 4 beds, and 1 room with 1 bed.
So 2 rooms with 3, 2 rooms with
4,
and 1 room with 1?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's 8. How could you handle 15?
That's 15. 2 rooms with 4.
2 rooms. 2 rooms.
Yes.
Oh, 2 rooms with 4, 2 rooms with 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, okay.
And then 1 room.
One room with 1, okay. How are you supported? How do you support the women?
The women support themselves. So they all get jobs, they pay their own rent, they buy their own food. Included in their rent is all the utilities, supplies, and drug testing for monitoring.
Okay, council? Questions? Comments?
What's the difference? This is a dumb question. What's the difference between a variance and a conditional use?
Let's ask Drew.
Different chapters of the ordinance. So this is actually out of chapter 30 for the business license. It's not related to land use zoning. The boarding homes are allowed in any district, but they have to comply with all of the regulations in chapter 30.
Okay.
So in chapter 30, and I said 1,000 feet here, excuse me, it's half mile between boarding homes. As you saw on the map, it's within actually 4 different boarding homes, 2 of them on the very edge of that half mile on larger pieces of property across the river.
Okay, and how do you determine head count per square footage of this house?
It is based off the square footage of the house.
So is it like 100 square feet per person, or how does that work?
Off the top of your head. I think it's, don't quote me on it, I think it's 120 for 2 bedroom. maybe 80, I think it's 80 square feet per person. And then the multiple occupancy is decreased per person, I believe. But they've gone through that inspection process on this house before, so it does qualify for that reasonable accommodation.
What's the average length of time that?
The recommendation is always 90 days, but we've had a countless amount of women who stay for over a year. 3 of them are here today, actually. So there is no date of us asking them to leave. It just becomes time for them to move
Minimum or
out.
maximum, really?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Okay. And Drew, one other question. Do we have 4 that are within that distance? Do we have some others within the city that don't
Yes.
quite meet that?
We do. If you look in your backup, there's a map showing a larger portion of the city. You can see how many of them overlap.
Okay, so,
And
all
so
right,
a lot
and
of
I
those,
hadn't looked at that.
yeah, many of those are left over from when the ordinance was initially enacted, before we had a separation. And there have been a number of them that have come before council over the years for that variance as well.
Okay. And there were no comments from any neighbors?
So I've not received any, did you?
None whatsoever?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, council.
We have more citizen speakers?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have?
Yes,
Fine.
ma'am, we'll
Oh,
have
we
to open
do.
the
That's
public
right,
hearing.
we do. That's, I'm forgetting. Okay. Thank you. Let's go ahead and have our visitors.
Open
Or-
for public hearing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I'll get it right here in a minute. All right, at 6:56, we will open it for public hearing.
Brian Brennan.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thanks for allowing me to be here tonight. My name is Brian Brannon. I'm the Director of Alumni and Continuing Care Services for Starlight Recovery Center out in Center Point, Texas. So it's my job to provide aftercare referral sources. We call them professional referral sources for our clients whenever they're leaving our inpatient treatment center and continuing their recovery. Also, Starlight Recovery Center is part of the Acadia Healthcare Corporation. And so we have very strict standards about the people that we refer our clients to for their aftercare. And Divine Promises Sober Living and Brittany Andre has more than exceeded those minimum standards that we have. Brittany Andre and Divine Promises has been a professional referral source for us for over 5 years. She is at the top of the list of not only folks from Starlight Recovery Center refer to, but also from our larger Acadia facilities that are located around the country. So I just wanted to let the council know that this has been a very prime resource. We have seen major success rates of our clients that continue their recovery by living in Divine Promises Sober Living. Also, just personally, I am a person of long-term recovery. I've been a Kerrville resident for 9 years now, came here for recovery. I'm a college-educated professional that is living here. Mrs. Andre and I both sit on the board of the Turner House Sober Living Board, which is a nonprofit sober living. Both of us have also sat on the Kerrville Recovery Coalition Board. We work together to volunteer, specifically like with the Kroc Center in town. So she is a definite, asset to our community, and has been a very strong professional referral source for Starlight Recovery Center and Acadia Healthcare Corporation as well.
Thank you.
So I appreciate your consideration of this proposal. Thank you.
Nikki Caines.
I've had my questions answered, thank you.
Haley Gray.
Hi. My name's Haley Gray. I've been sober since 10/8 of 2019.
I traveled 3,000 miles. I'm already going to get emotional, but I traveled 3,000 miles to go to treatment at Starlight in Center Point. I was there for 2 months, and I moved into Divine Promises on December 5th of 2019. That is where I found safety for the first time in my whole entire life. I was an active member of the household. I got promoted to management and first started out when I was around 4 months sober as the assistant manager, and then a few months later got promoted to house manager. So I speak not only as a house member and being someone in like a management position and seeing how Brittany Andre holds women accountable with so much love and so much true compassion that can't go without each other because they're not mutually exclusive to each other, to where I've thrived not only in sobriety but in my life. I continuously help Divine Promises and am an active part of the community. I worked at an all-women's substance abuse and trauma center in Fredericksburg, where I was the recovery advocate manager for multiple years. We outsourced specifically and primarily only to Divine Promises. That speaks really high to who she is as a person and the values that she expects of those women that walk through those doors. And it's just been an honor to be able to be a part of a house that we've always talked about. God lives in the framework of where we stepped foot and began our lives over again. And so the reason I'm getting emotional is because I know for a fact that had it not been for Divine Promises, not even where I went to treatment, but had it not been for that house and the women that I met and the women that I got to be a part of their lives as well, and they've equally affected me as I have them. And so it's a beautiful resource for us to continuously house and be able to provide the same level of care to the women coming through that truly come from all over the United States. I'm from California, and this is now my home. And so just being able to even consider this being something to come to fruition again is something that, as someone that's in the recovery community, is so needed and is so necessary for us to continue to do the work that I believe that God put on my heart to do and us to do as well. So thank you so much for your consideration.
Callie Crossley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Callie Crossley. I've been sober since February 1st of 2020. I'm from East Texas and originally came out to this area in 2017. I was unable to stay sober. And I was arrested in 2020. I did almost 2 years in prison and went straight to Divine Promises when I left, or when I got out. I've been at Divine since October of 21. Started managing the Jefferson location, I believe it was February. I'd only been out about 3 or 4 months. And I've lived in several sober living houses unsuccessfully. I moved to Divine very scared because I had been unable to be successful before. It's more of a family atmosphere, if I'm honest. In AA, we learn to create the fellowship we crave. And that's kind of what happens, especially in a home with 15 women working a 12-step program. You asked Brittany earlier how she supports us. And she really failed to mention, not only is she a woman in recovery, setting an example with her life as a mom and a wife and an employee and all the things. She answers the phone every time, gives us letters of reference, makes sure that we communicate with my parole and probation officers, make sure that I'm at appointments every time I need to be there, stops what she's doing to pick up the phone, and she has a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old. It becomes a family unit. Women that are coming from backgrounds with no love, much less development or nurture, and we kind of learn how to do that together as one instead of individuals out there trying to do it. And then you just watch them go out and flourish in the community. It's been a privilege to be here, to be offered what I've been offered through Kerr County as a whole. I was not the greatest member of society for a long time here, and I've been given chance after chance, and luckily this go round, I've done well. And I'm so grateful to represent Divine and what she's doing, what I get to be a part of doing. Those that have come before me and will come after. We're logically speaking, addiction and alcoholism doesn't really look normal. To us, it's very normal, but we've got to learn how to be, and we get to do that together there. And I just appreciate you listening, and it's a special place that I hope continues to thrive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cassandra Austin.
Thank y'all for letting me come to speak. My name is Cassandra Austin. I've been in Kerrville, or I've been at Divine Promises for about a year now. When I came here, or in my previous times of sobriety, if you add all the times together, I've spent 6 years in rehabs trying to get sober. 3 months after I get out of rehab, I always went back to using. The thing I was missing was learning how to live in society. When I came to Divine Promises, I've learned not only how to get a job, to pay taxes, to pay child support. I've also learned how to love and receive love. I have actually been promoted to assistant manager, which is a big deal to me because I've never really been trusted. And here I'm being taught how to trust others and trust myself. I'm so grateful that I've gotten the opportunity to speak to y'all and let y'all know like how much this really means to a lot of women, not just me, but a lot of women who are trying to learn how to live sober, trying to learn how to be productive members of of the community. But yeah, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
That's the end of the citizen speakers that signed up.
All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak that did not sign?
Bruce Drakey, 821 Earl Garrett Street, new address.
Same street.
Yeah.
I think about when we passed this boarding ordinance and the challenges we went to make it fair and equitable and to find a way as Kerrville, which is a very welcoming community, to reach out to folks who need a hand. And as much as I dislike the urban definition of Kerrville, if you ever go look up Urban Dictionary and look up Kerrville, it won't make you happy. But we need to be that kind of a community. That's who we are. We can't deny the fact that we're a welcoming, loving community that helps each other. And that's really important. And we've just heard quite a bit about that, but what I really wanted to talk about is the zoning and the location here. We're right across the street from the Downtown Arts and Cultural District. We're in an RT zone surrounded by commercial districts and public institution. The nearest full residential neighborhoods are at least 2 blocks away, right? If you all look at, and Drew could have brought up the zoning map, and he certainly can if you all ask him to, but this is a really great location for a boarding home. It's near jobs, it's near groceries, it's near restaurants, it's near our river and our river trail and our park system. It's between Carver Park and the river. It's a wonderful place for people, and some, I would imagine, may not have a driver's license, where they can walk to work, to food, to friends, to recreation. This is exactly where this belongs in our city. So anyway, thank you all. You do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, at 7:08, we will close the public hearing. A question I have, Drew, is 15 probably the largest number of people that we would have? I would think so. Yes. So most of them would run 4, 5, 6.
I have some that have 12.
There are some with 12. Okay. All right.
Are they inspected?
Yes.
Okay.
Annual inspections.
Annual permitted?
Mhm. And it is more than just a residential inspection. They have to go through the number of beds, make sure the floor plan hasn't changed, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. Little more health and safety beyond just your regular residential inspection, and also annually, unlike most residential homes, so.
And what is the permit fee? Do you know?
A new boarding home is $1,000, and then to renew yearly after that is $350.
Okay, thank you.
And just remind council, and from the ordinance itself, in determining whether to grant a variance, council must find that the enforcement of the distance requirement is not in the best interest of the public, constitutes a waste or inefficient use of land or other resources, creates an undue hardship on an applicant for the permit, does not serve the intended purpose behind the ordinance, and is not effective or necessary.
Thank you. I was gonna go through that, so you saved me some words that I had to say. Appreciate it. Mayor, if I may ask a couple questions?
Quick ones.
Okay, nobody else was told that. Anyways, I have 5 minutes. I'm not gonna use it all. So when we talk about the 15 people, and there was a comment made that they were given a condition for that, or accommodation for that reasonable, do we have to do that here?
No, that is at the staff level.
Okay.
That is based on, the standard is less than 15.
Okay.
But based on that additional square footage that they have, they do qualify that at the administrative level.
Okay, good. I was just making sure if that's any action we were gonna have to take, that we don't have to do it. Next thing is, looking at the next section, B, after what you just read, says that council can, if we choose to do so, if we find a need to, can set conditions that are intended to mitigate the impacts caused by the boarding home facility. What are impacts that we may even take into consideration for that, if we would need to?
I can't think of anything specifically. I know some that we've looked at, we've talked about additional parking or additional screening.
Okay.
Do you remember if any of them others have conditions on the variance?
No.
I think most of them, they're just reasonable accommodation.
Reasonable accommodations were the only one.
Okay.
So I can't think of any specifics, but
Okay.
you have the option.
All right. And hearing from public input, I heard no concerns, and I don't think the city has any record of any complaints. Is that right?
That is
And
correct.
Clearly, we haven't heard anything, so I appreciate the testimony of each and every one of y'all and what y'all are doing. And like I said, you saved me from reading that, and I was gonna go through those because we have to find that that requirement is not in the best interest of the public. Hearing the testimony today, I find that it's doing a benefit to people in our community, so it is in the best interest of the public. And that if we were going to try to enforce this, it would probably be unnecessary to what's been going on there already and how it's benefiting our community. So seeing that, I'm in support of it, so thank you.
Anyone else? One last question on parking. How many parking spaces would there be?
Do you have the site plan? I think there's parking behind the house as
Oh,
well.
there is. Okay, I had not realized it was behind.
They're required 11 parking spaces.
Okay. And there are 11,
Yes.
is what you're saying. Okay, okay.
Comment? I just want to thank you all for speaking tonight. Speaking your truth and what is a very personal story, and sharing that journey with us, and congratulations to you and your journey. So, thank you.
And you do have your licenses. I saw y'all. Well done. Good job.
All right, council, are we ready for a motion?
I move to approve the requested variance from the distance requirement.
Second, we have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. There's Joe's, thank you. All right, thank you very much, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you.
All right, 7A, Shelley.
Resolution number 07, 2023. A resolution in support of the submission of an application to the 2023 Competitive Housing Tax Credit, HTC, program through the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, TDHCA, by Communities River Rock Partners LLC for the new construction of affordable senior housing. We do have one citizen speaker signed up.
All right, Michael.
Well, hello.
Oh.
How's everybody tonight? Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. Be short and sweet. We actually have two members of the Overland Property Group here tonight to help with the discussion. Miss April Engstrom and Matt Gillum, if I'm getting that last name correct. They represent Overland Property Group. There's a separate name for the actual apartment complex. They do this with all their projects, and they can speak to that. One of the things I was going to mention before I turned it over to them is that what you saw in the packets that were submitted to you and what you have before you are just a couple of red lines in the ordinance. And I could speak to that after they go through their presentation and just kind of highlight those changes, and apologize for that beforehand. So with that, I will turn it over to Miss April if you want to come on over. Clicker's on and ready to go.
Perfect. Hello. I feel like I'm not prepared to talk after last group. That's really cool. My name is April Engstrom. I am the Director of Development at Overland Property Group, and I am here to talk to you tonight about River Rock Apartments, which is a proposed affordable senior community. So first, I'll just run through a little bit about what our firm does. I know that previously you'd heard from one of our managing partners, Matt Gillum, on the reserves at Holdsworth and the residents at Ridge Hill. So I will try to be concise. Overland Property Group has been specializing in affordable housing development for 20 years now, as well as mixed income community development and historic rehabs. We have 3 offices now in Salina, Kansas, Kansas City, and Denver as well. We have a really hands-on approach. We don't develop to sell. We develop and continue to own and operate these communities. And we've won a few awards for our work that we're quite proud of. It means we're doing something right and fulfilling a need. I just want to run through a few photos. First, just a status update on the residents at Ridge Hill, located at 170 Lehman Drive. That is our first Kerrville community of affordable senior apartments, 43 units. And we anticipate construction completion in late summer. And then the reserves at Holdsworth is our second affordable community that's currently under construction at 239 North Holdsworth Drive. And that's 36 units of affordable multifamily housing. Here's the residents at Ridge Hill. And then the reserves at Holdsworth. This is just the view from the site. You know, one thing I think that we really care about and pride ourselves on is that we don't want to just develop apartment buildings. We're really interested in developing communities. And it's important to us, and it feels really good to us when, you know, we can give people high quality, safe, affordable housing, and then also views like this one. We really want people to feel proud of their homes. Just some photos of our other properties. This is Lee Lofts in Salina, Kansas, where we were founded and where we still have an office in the first floor of this historic renovation. You know, Salina is a town of 50,000, and so I lived there for nearly 8 years. Matt was born and raised there, and so is our other managing partner. And so for us, the community aspect is really big. We really understand it. To be frank, working with the federal government and the IRS is no fun if you're doing it, if you're not doing it with and for people. So we really love working in communities like Kerrville, and have loved working here over the last few years because we feel like it's a place that we understand, and we really, it makes all of our jobs more rewarding when we understand the market, the city, and when we get to work with a cool team of people. Drew, I hope you are not sick of hearing from me all the time. Just a few more photos. And then about this development. So, this would be developed using affordable housing tax credits, which is a funding mechanism that we receive from TDHCA. And in order to submit our application tomorrow, actually, we need to include a resolution of support from the City Council. So we're sitting on 18.5 acres, which is ample space, and the site is interesting. It's currently split between the city portion and then also the county. We're currently looking to develop between 25 and 35 units of affordable senior housing. Our engineers are still working on it with our architects and our construction team because Kerrville's topography is unique. But beautiful. I love it. But so that's why things are still a little bit in flux. But it would be a smaller, more neighborhood-sized community like our other two. And then I just have a conceptual unit mix and rents. So you can see what we're looking at. Rents range between $350 to around $1,000. Oh, I guess I have it right here, $1,300. But that would be for a market rate unit. So for affordable, we're looking closer to about $950 max. And then, like I said earlier, we pride ourselves on, making and developing communities, not just apartment buildings. And that means that we have fully amenitized communities, including, dog parks, a clubhouse, oftentimes a fitness center. We really want it to be an inclusive environment for people, a place where, again, they feel proud to call it home and where they want to spend their time with their families. And our units don't differ from what you would see in a market rate development. We have naughty Adlerwood cabinets, we have luxury vinyl tile flooring, high ceilings. I was just walking through the residence at Ridge Hill yesterday, and it also has awesome views. We really care about the quality that we develop. And that is all I have for you tonight.
All right, Council. Michael, some more?
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna go over just quickly the changes to the ordinance that you have before you, if I can get my iPad to work, which probably won't. So if you notice the version that you got in the packet and the version that you got afterwards, right?
Did we get one afterwards? A version afterwards?
The amended, well, just the amendment, the one that had the additional whereas
I thought
clause.
you sent out I thought we did. You better go over.
Yeah, because I don't have that.
Okay.
That's the one in Granicus right now, or?
No, that's the original.
Okay.
I only have at least the original. I don't have
Okay.
any amendments.
So there's no substantive changes to it, but there is one additional whereas that we thought might be germane, and you might have a question about it, right? So there was a whereas in there that says, whereas the applicant acknowledges that the city currently has more than twice the state average of units per capita supported by tax housing credits. So basically, it's a statutory requirement that the state holds, that if we and Kerrville have more than the state average, twice that amount, it has to be shown in that resolution. It's nothing more than a disclaimer that they show, but I told April that was an inclusion into the resolution and thought you all might have questions about that.
It is shown in Granicus, that where?
It is in that one, all right, yeah. So the one that is in Granicus, I apologize. I know you got a version and then you got a second version, so.
Do they have the new one for?
Yes, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
What's it, since we have you here, what is your timeline for the current projects that are under development?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the residents at Ridge Hill, we think will be open to residents in late summer of this year. And then the reserves at Holdsworth, which is the multifamily community, would be open by the end of the year, fourth quarter.
And then for people who are interested, how are they given notice of the availability and how do they get qualified? Things of that nature.
Yeah, so we have been keeping an interest list. I know just last week we received 4 calls from locals who are interested in the residents at Ridge Hill specifically. We met Peggy earlier tonight, and she had questions asking for a friend that she thought might be interested in. So we definitely keep an interest list. Right now, because of the qualification process, it's a little bit early to be taking applications and doing background checks, that kind of thing, because those all have to happen within a certain time frame. But yeah, we keep an interest list, and we've seen quite a lot of interest in both of our existing.
So how do people know how to contact you guys if they do have some sort of interest?
Yeah,
Public information.
Sure, and that's a great question. You know, we receive a lot of calls just from our website traffic, people sending emails, and then also to, you know, often we'll meet people and hand out our cards when we're at meetings or when we're in town. People find us that way. And then I know too that sometimes our general contractors are approached and then they refer people to us or get us in touch.
So on this upcoming project,
yeah,
I assume the site plan is for the development to occur within the property that's already in the city, or are you gonna come back with a zoning request if it's not?
Yeah.
What's your thought?
No, that's a great question. So because part of the site is in the ETJ, it's typical, or at least the last 2 developments, we've annexed in the county portion, and then had that zoned to multifamily.
Okay, other questions from anyone? I have to say, you've done a beautiful job with Lehman.
Oh, thank
I
you.
was not a happy camper when you started, and but you pulled it off beautifully. You did a great job.
Well, thank you so much. That's really lovely to hear.
Spurred some discussions with the code review committee to bring back some things to you.
I know it's development is tough sometimes, and it can be difficult or have a lot of, it's a lot of work. So we really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us and giving us a chance.
Are we going to get a tour? Will you have an open house?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
We
good.
will definitely have open houses for both developments, and you are all invited, everyone, of course.
Good. All right, we do have one speaker, so do you have anything else you want to share with us before we bring our speaker up?
I know.
All right.
Nikki Keynes.
Hi, Nikki Keynes. I live in the city, and this is exciting beyond because with over a third of our seniors, some a lot maybe needing to downsize, this is really, really good news. If I could clarify one thing, when you're talking about going through the Texas Department of Housing and the housing tax credits, you mentioned maybe a single unit, 1 bedroom, I'm not sure, $350 to $1,300. A person who wanted to qualify and move in, is that going to be on a sliding scale of their current income?
Absolutely. And the 1,300 was for a market rate 2-bedroom. I think for an affordable 2-bedroom unit, we were closer to $950. But yes, this is, the unit mix is set for a period of 35 years at income tiers for 30%, 50%, and 60% of the AMI. So people making 30% of the AMI, will income qualify for units in the 30% rent
And if their
range.
income changes within that time period, does their rent go down?
No, it does not. I think income re-verification happens annually.
Okay, okay. Is this new one, I know the one on Lehman seems to be gated. Will that continue to be gated? And will the one on Matheson be gated as well?
Yeah, so they're
Security?
actually not gated, but we have a full fence, like a full perimeter fencing, and that's standard for all of our developments.
Okay, I was thinking just for security reasons.
Yeah, they're really nicely lit though, so it's never, you never feel dark or, dangerous in
Okay,
any
and
way.
one last question. We do senior this, senior that, and it used to be you had to be quite a bit older to qualify for anything senior. What is the baseline senior age limit that these would be for?
Yeah, so the baseline age limit is 55 and better, yeah.
55, okay.
And then also too, I want to mention that our multifamily communities, we typically see about 30% of, our residents being seniors as well.
Okay, in the 55 and older, a lot of grandparents have grandkids, they're raising them. Are they allowed in, or is it strictly 55 and older?
That's a great question, Matt. I don't want to misspeak. Matt knows though.
I do.
He's got all the answers.
No, you have all the answers.
Who
I just get to
you?
answer one and look smart. There are certain situations, obviously being in a program that's guidance by the IRS, there are a lot of hoops and there are a lot of restrictions, but there are situations where if you do have a grandparent, there's a special situation you can apply for, and we would help them try to apply for that variance, so.
Okay, it would be a variance in a special situation.
Yes, so it's really to prevent situations where you have a senior and they're moving a family in with them, so, you're trying to protect all sides from that.
Exactly, that's what I was getting at. And the multifamily development that will be on North Holsworth, that is all ages, families and everything?
Correct, yes.
Great, thank you, affordable.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Are
for a
we
motion?
ready for a motion? Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 07-2023.
Second, Kim, all right, all in favor, raise your right hand. And it is unanimously approved.
Thank you, everyone.
We
Thank
look
you.
forward to having you around.
Thanks. We look forward to continuing to be around. Thank you.
And staff, before we leave, can I get a printed copy of the updated one, just so I can have an accurate record for my thing?
I'll
do it now. Thank you.
All right.
It says access denied on my end. I know.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, 7B. Shelley?
Authorization to negotiate a design-build contract for the public safety facility.
I wonder what this is for. At QAQC, I think they're assuring me that I get this done tonight.
No pressure.
We're just here for encouragement.
Right.
Yeah, I noticed you have the gun, next week.
Want us to approve
But
this
is,
quick, right?
Long overdue.
Yes.
It's been an excellent process. Just to kind of recap, this was a very big priority in the Kerrville 2050 action. Let's get the bonds passed, get the facility built. So just to recap the timeline, May of 22, we had the bond election passed by the citizens of Kerrville. June, council authorized the design build. September, we went to the RFQ process, brought those, the shortlisted group, we had 8 qualified, we shortlisted that to 5. Probably should have, made it a little bit easier on ourselves and done 2 or 3, but, all teams were excellent. And so back in January, we wanted to have a little time between, with the holidays. We didn't want to really, condense our portfolios that we were going to be presented by the teams. Let's get them back from the holidays, get all their staff engaged, and get the best available presentations. They delivered. These came in back in February, or I guess we're still in February. So on the 10th, last week, the committee had 5 interviews, 1 for each team. Excellent interviews. The presentations were phenomenal. So here tonight, we're bringing those rankings to you. Just a recap of what this is, the design build is, remember, a single, it's not our standard process with the 2 or 3 contracts. Again, part of the state law requirements that we have. We've got to, some criteria that we have to post. It was posted in the RFQ, it was posted in the RFP. Some of these, as you'll see on the interview presentation, did have weight, qualifications, costing, all of that stuff. With that, here is the rankings. So the selection committee, again, we all submit our individual rankings. It's all scored on an individual basis. And Byrne Construction, and I believe you and I had the dialogue last time of Byrne. Is it Byrne Construction or the Thomas S. Byrne? So I wanted to make sure that we're on the same page. It's the same company. Was the number 1 ranked. So what we've got before you tonight is authorization to begin the negotiation. We don't have a contract per se. We've got to begin negotiations with that contractor and their team. And so the city manager, once you authorize us, we will get this thing rolling. Let these 2 gentlemen, I can kind of feel stuff on my back here. But so just timely, if we, I feel that this is going to be a relatively quick process. We've gone through this with the Heritage Center on the contract. This one's going to be a little bit easier with the Greenfield. Notice to proceed in March. December of 24 is when we hope to have these guys in that building functional.
Hey.
Any questions, comments?
I just want to ask the chiefs if they agree with your presentation.
Don't go anywhere. We're very excited to be at this point, and yeah, I think as a staff, we've probably poured thousands of hours into this selection process, and I think we all feel extremely comfortable with this recommendation. From my perspective as just a cop, I want to thank Stuart and Kyle and Joe Cookmore from Freeze Nichols for kind of guiding us and helping us through this process. Definitely not what we normally do for a living, but very educational. It's very exciting. We're very pleased to be at this point.
Yeah. And we thank you for your support as we've gone through this whole process, and thank you, Kyle, and the team, just kind of bringing us along. So and showing us where we're at, and we're really excited to get started. So,
Did you guys get to participate in interviewing these guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think they would let me do that without them.
So my next question is, did you ask for the memorial area?
We did. Each one got a question about the memorial and how they would work with the citizens group working to provide that. So
Awesome.
all of them were very aware of that and,
Okay.
And included it in their presentations.
Great, thank you. Yay.
All
Speaking
right.
of spubs.
It's exciting. Is there, do we have any speakers from the public? All right. Are we ready, council?
I'm gonna make a motion.
I figured you would. Go for it.
I would like to authorize the city manager to negotiate and finalize the contract for the public safety facility.
Second.
Second from Kim. All right. Make sure you raise the right hand, council. All in favor, right hand up. All right, wonderful. Congratulations and thank you. All right, we could go home after that, can't we? We
Almost.
have one more, 7C.
Resolution
Two more,
number
two more.
09-2023, a resolution authorizing the approval of a contract for collection services for debts and accounts receivable with Limeberger, Guggen, Blair, and Sampson LLP. Such services to include collections of unpaid fines, fees, and court costs pertaining to the city's municipal court, making certain findings required by section 2254.1036 of the Texas Government Code, authorizing the city manager to execute the contract and providing an effective date. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right, Yesenia, take us away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, the court is looking at using the collection agency for municipal court. Let's see.
Martin, can you help her move it?
There
There
it
we
is.
go.
Okay.
Okay.
Drew, or Yesenia,
right.
pull your mic down maybe just a
Okay.
little bit. There you go.
So the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 103.0031, permits the city council to enter into a contract with a private attorney to collect unpaid fines, fees, and court costs ordered paid by the Kerrville Municipal Court. It also authorizes the addition of a collection fee in the amount of 30%. The fee is applicable to all cases 60 days past due from the appearance date or judgment date as ordered by the court, and the city will receive all fines due, not a reduced amount. So the Kerrville Municipal Court has reached an agreement with Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson LLP to provide the legal services for collections of fines and fees on delinquent cases in the municipal court. The contract includes the inclusion of a 30% contingency fee as payment of Linebarger's fees. The fee is not taken out of the fines, fees, and court costs owed to the court. Instead, it is included as an additional fee on top of the fines, fees, and court costs.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am. So it does allow the Kerrville Municipal Court to recover 100% of the outstanding fines, fees, and court costs. So the staff recommendation, council approve resolution number 092023 and authorize Mayor Eichner to finalize and execute a contract with Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson LLP for fines and fees collection services. And I believe we do have Mr. Turner here as a representative from Linebarger. Don't have any questions.
All right.
Thank you for being with us all night.
Yes. Would you like to share something with us?
Only if the council has any questions.
Are you local?
I am not.
Come to the, if you'll come to the mic so we can get you recorded.
Yes, ma'am. I live in Buda, just south of Austin.
Okay.
Linebarger represents roughly 2,500 governmental entities nationwide, but we got our start in Hayes County and in Central Texas in 1976. So
Okay.
if you want local, we're definitely local.
Thank you. Question that I had, 30% I would guess is a standard amount for.
It's the statutory amount.
Oh, it's a statutory,
Yes,
okay.
it's provided for in that Article 103.0031 that she referenced.
Okay.
So what kind of percentage do you have of recovery?
It's a good question, and of course, it depends on the court and the portfolio, and what placements are actually made. But I represent the city of Kyle, and they're currently at about 42% cash recovery rate and about a 55% resolution rate. I mean, 55%, the additional in that resolution rate would be things that were done by community service or layout or dismissal by the judge.
And you collect only if you are successful in collecting.
That's right. And as it was mentioned 3 or 4 times, the city gets all their money and we get paid off the top.
That's good. That's good.
You can tell that's a common question we get.
What has municipal court been doing up to now, Yesenia? How have you been handling this?
So we send out notices. We also issue warrants for delinquent cases. And at that time, they're about 60 days past due.
What kind of success do you have on a 60-day? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that would be tough, but.
Good, not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
And that's what usually we do, those warrant roundup things, right? Trying to give people the opportunity to come in and pay all their outstanding fees without the fear of probably getting arrested. Is that?
We
kind of
haven't
connected with it, right?
done one in a while. I believe we did one last year.
Yeah.
And it
At least
was not a
once
good result.
Since I've been on council, yeah, and I was wondering about that. How it
Right.
worked, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good turnout.
Yeah.
This really helps us outsource this collection
Mhm.
function. Our staff, they're not collection agents, right?
Yeah.
And so this helps us outsource that and helps us focusing on maintaining efficient functions at municipal court for their primary duties.
Absolutely.
In terms of the action, do you need the city manager or the mayor to do it? We have
both.
Yeah.
It's the mayor, is my
It's-
understanding.
Yeah, it's the mayor, and that's statute.
Okay, that's what I thought that too, yeah.
And it expires January 9th of 2025. So how did we arrive at 2025?
3-year contract? It's a 2-year contract, is my understanding.
23, 23.
We're not in January.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, council, of either of these individuals? All right, do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? All right, are we ready? All right, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 09-2023 and authorize the mayor to finalize and execute the contract.
Second.
You want to add the company there?
Sure. And execute, well, yeah. Do you need to put,
Yeah.
where do I have that?
Read the whole thing. It's
Execute the
right there at
contract
the
with
end.
Lineberger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson LLP, and then for fines and fees, collection services.
Okay. Second, Joe? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right, I believe we have arrived at our last one.
Financial update for month ending January 31st, 2023. and tax
Excuse me,
increment
I'm sorry.
reinvestment zone.
I know.
Annual report for year ended September 30th, 2022.
Twice in one day, I know.
Yeah.
I'll try to go quick, okay?
You're doing great.
It's gonna be hard to outdo the last one.
That one was
That was
quick
pretty
too,
good
so
stuff.
we're shooting to give a lot of information in a short period of
Yeah.
time.
Wow. But that was a good
Good, thank you.
report.
Thank you. It was a long process, learn a little bit more every day, and I think overall we had really good success. So we're proud to just have a clean audit.
Yes.
Yes.
Makes us happy. Well, maybe, Martin, I'm having trouble too.
Makes us happy too.
I bet. Okay, I got it, I think. Technology. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna, see, Martin, we still don't have it on the screen. There it
There we
is.
go.
Okay, so I'll give you just a quick overview of our largest funds here as of January 31st of '23. So this is a general fund. Again, I'm trying to present it as you see it in the budget, so it's a little bit easier for you to follow along if you're looking at it after the fact. Total revenues on the general fund, better than budget, $540,000, better than our budget estimate, I should say that. Expenses, $844,000 better than budget, but keep in mind, there's a lot of timing issues when it comes to expenses, so it's really too early to say that that's an indicator. We budget for a reason, so we expect to have some expenses coming. On the revenue side, we're about 80% collected in property tax compared to 77% last year at the same time. So that does have a pretty big impact. So that'll level, just like we talked about last year, when property tax collections level out, then those variances will level out some. Sales tax, $93,000 ahead of last year, but remember we had a big October. We have seen some leveling there. We're really starting to watch that closely with all the things going on in the economy right now. It's really hard to project what's going to happen, so we'll see what March looks like. That'll be from January sales tax, and then kind of see what the spring has to offer with things the way they are. Personnel better than budget. Still have some staff shortages, really citywide, particularly in the general fund. And then we also have some timing things with insurance payments and those things. So again, we lapse another month or so and we'll be able to give you a better projection of what's really looks like a trend. Quick update on inflation. I wasn't going to include this, but we did see a little bit of a downturn again. So it looks like we're trending down a little bit on overall inflation. Slight reduction compared to last month. The Fed will meet again in March, and we do expect to see another rate hike. Just trying to slow the economy down a little bit, and we can all see kind of what's happening there. Nationwide, some retailers are reporting they're feeling the inflationary pressures, having to pass on costs to customers and those kind of things. So really hard to get a good gauge because remember we're on a fiscal year, they're on a calendar, so we're not really going to get a good first quarter report just yet. So once we do, we'll have a better idea of what's going on out there in the world. A lot of just roller coaster information right now that we're trying to just sum and follow and piece together and kind of figure out what's right, and then also what's right for us in our community, which is different than some of the other areas across the state and the nation. So we just know it's volatile and we're keeping a close eye on it. Same kind of messaging with sales tax here. Obviously you can see 21 and 22 with big increases, which we've talked about, and a lot of reasons that we had those increases. Still have an increase of about 8% over last year, so that's good. 7.9% increase when we're really starting to look at a 12-month rolling average and what does that look like year over year. So that's the chart on the bottom left, so you can basically see kind of what the rolling average change is each month. I didn't put COVID on here, I probably should, and that would probably clean that up just a little bit. Kerrville's still a regional retail hub, so we have a lot of things that our neighbors don't have. So we feel like that's really strong. Just don't have any good, local retail reports yet, but hopefully we will another month. Just a little view of property tax collections through January compared to budget, and this is something I just showed you last month about how we estimate the percent of property tax that we should receive each month based on historical data. It's not science for sure, but it just gives us an idea of what we can expect. So again, we're 80% collected. You'll see a big drop off in just monthly revenues on property tax, but we fully expect to make budget there. Quick look at water fund. So water and sewer revenues both slightly ahead of estimated budget. Again, way too early to project. Waste disposal still running behind year-to-date estimate and behind last year. Whether it's coincident or not, I don't know. We talked a little bit about the drought maybe having an impact on those kind of things. I really don't know what that is, but I know the guys out there at the plant are tracking that pretty close as far as what's going on. Keeping in mind with less disposal comes less chemicals, so there'll be an offset. There's a give and take when it comes to what it costs to actually treat those things. So. Maintenance, so overall expenditures are worse than budget, but remember that we have that big carbon media purchase that will clean up when we bring the budget amendment to you for the purchase that happened in 23 that was supposed to happen in 22. So. Development services fund, so revenues are really strong over there, $200,000 better than estimated budget. Again, so hard to say on that fund because it could completely level out next month, but a lot of development going on, a lot of things that started that weren't finished last year that are now, coming on board this year, so they're tracking really well. If you look at the net, that's what's looks really good here. If you look at compared to last year, we're 191,000 net right now. Last year we were negative. So it just goes to show that they're heavily impacted by variables that we just can't predict. So just a little unusual fund. And remember, development services is part of the general fund. We break it out like this just so that you can see operational revenues and expenses in more detail. Occupancy tax revenues, not as good as we were expecting as far as budget estimate. Again, it's early, but the last 2 months have been trending a little behind last year, not substantially behind, but we're watching to make sure that everyone is paying on time and paying in the right month, and all our big guys are. It's a little harder to track the small ones, but we don't know if it's economy based, but we are watching that really close. Do keep in mind we have a healthy fund balance in the hot fund, so it's not something where we are expecting to, have problems covering our expenses or anything like that. So, more to come on that as we progress into the spring.
We got a little something.
We have a little something in the background there, yeah. So I know that they're working hard on solar eclipse planning, both for October of 23 and for April of 24. So we expect some big things happening here in the community in the next, 6 to 8 months. So just watch for that. And also, our usual summer events and things that we have, especially being free, that may be drivers as well. Quick look on what's coming up. So you received your copy electronically today of your ACFR. Again, you'll be getting your bound copy soon as we receive it in our hand. And again, we were super happy to have the audit report that was clean, and there's a lot of work that goes into that behind the scenes that don't really even involve Trina and I, but a big staff behind us that do a lot of work every day. So we work hard to make sure we're giving you, good information and that we're keeping the city where it's supposed to be. On or about March 6th, we should have an S&P call. I haven't got confirmation of that yet, but I would expect to get that here in the next few days. And then we are starting on budget. Obviously, we've been in budget for a while. Our asset maintenance team has been working really hard the last few months just to really make sure we've identified what does the city own, what is the life of it, what's the cost of replacing it, when do we need to replace it, and just really taking a deep look, more in depth than we did last year as we brought you some asset information. So working on that. Departments are putting in their budget requests now, so we'll start reviewing those in March and working through that process. And what else do we have? April, we do have revenue bond pre-pricing, so we'll be able to get a better estimate and come back to you and say this is what we think, about this is gonna be. Remember that we do have a workshop in March to talk more about water revenues and some other issues around water. Sometime in April, we'll receive a preliminary roll from Kirkad. Usually it's toward the end of the month, but when they get it ready, they go ahead and send it out to us. So we'll start working on property tax estimations at that. So really just looking forward the next couple months. The two big things for you guys will be June 22nd and July 19th, which will be our council budget workshops. And so in between then and now, if you want to discuss anything budget related, just let us know. I'm happy to do it. Any questions on financial report?
Thank you, Julie. Thank your department for their good work.
Will do. So you're not through with me
Oh.
because
Yeah,
this is quick. It's quick.
Thank you.
So if you remember, we're required to bring to you and also to the comptroller an annual report on our TERS fund each year. So this is the report for last year's fiscal year. The TERS board has already seen this. So this is just a little kind of chart actually that Jacob built. Just kind of making it look a little bit more understandable about what stays in the general fund and what goes into the TERS fund as it grows. So I thought this was kind of interesting, so I thought I would include this. The green here is the base portion, and then you can see the growth line there, and as it grows, that's the piece that goes over into TERS. So sometimes that can get really hard to understand. This is just a list of what the state law requires us to submit. You have this report in front of you. As not exactly as submitted to the state because we submitted in an online form, but this is our starting point and a little bit prettier than what the comptroller form looks like. So we have to tell them, what were our sources of revenue, which is a little bit of interest there, and also, of course, property tax increment, the amount and purposes of expenditures, which at this point we have not had any, neither do we have any debt. And then the base and current captured year value, so they can kind of see where our money's coming from based on the value, and also to make sure that we're keeping that base value where it goes, which is in the base year and in the general fund. So you'll recognize this. This is the easiest way for me to kind of break it down. So you can see all the way back to 21 actuals what the revenues were for this fund. Again, no expenses to date. You can see that we budgeted 62.6 and 22 and came in at 51.1. It's important to know that people, especially exempt organizations, have 2 years to file that exemption. So oftentimes we'll have refunds if an exempt organization does purchase a property within that fund. And so obviously a pretty big jump there in the budget in fiscal year 23. But remember during budget workshops and then through the budget, we talked about the change in valuation process that Kirkad had on commercial property. So pretty big hike on the commercial property side there. That's not on the residential side. We do have a few still in dispute, so we're kind of just watching and waiting. We think we have about another month before we'll have an actual determination on the rest of the disputes there. So the next one is really not much to tell. This is just kind of a little bit different variation. You have this in your hand. The big thing here is just showing you the differential in value from the base year to FY22. That's the big thing here. And then the fund balance as of the end of fiscal year 22, $110,255. So that is what we had in the bank. We don't have any collected increment at this time. Remember, we have to collect as much as the base year. Until we exceed that, we don't move any over into the TERS fund. So depending on how much that is, typically we move it twice a year and that's it, because it's not a lot of dollars for the process. We're watching a little closer this year because of some disputes we have out there, and then the number's a lot bigger. So we're just kind of watching that. We'll have another update in March, and once we get that from the tax assessor, then we'll be able to report back on what that's looking like after the first couple of months. So any questions on TERS? Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank
Good night.
you again. All right, we have come to the end of our agenda, council. Is there anything anyone has for a future agenda? If not, at 7:58, we will close the city council meeting.
Adjourn.
Coffee. Exactly the same. Thank you. Thank you.